Architecture CodeX. If you want to see more, like, comment, share, and most importantly, subscribe.
Coco Chanel once said that fashion changes, but style endures. Architects have always thought of their work as timeless, enduring perpetually, long after they are gone. And they may be offended if you ask them, what style architecture are you doing? As most do not think in terms of fashion of the moment. Yet we identify architecture in time and place by using style words such as neoclassical, Gothic, Rococo, even though these terms were often assigned to a type of architecture hundreds of years after they were being built, and the definition of style is often vague or impure. If you were to go to Bernini and ask him to design a Baroque building, he would not know what you are talking about. Today our society moves so quickly, information is generated and just as quickly forgotten. And architecture styles are given names by the media or the architects themselves, theorizing as they are being designed, knowing that giving the style a name makes it easier to promote. But since media is always interested in the new, those styles may not last too long. So it may be appropriate to stop talking about architecture style and start talking about architecture fashion. If you look at the Proctor Gamble World Headquarters by KPF, back when they were known as Kohn, Pedersen, and Fox, you might see what I mean. Completed in 1986, it embraced the postmodern style that many corporations were playing with during those wild 1980s. See the General Foods headquarters, Architecture Codex No. 7, or the AT&T building in New York City. The P&G headquarters employed traditional design forms once rejected by the corporate glass block modernist architecture firms. In one sense, it was an American Piazza del Popolo. Both have twin sectional dome buildings, both use symmetry, both delineate windows on a stone facade, and both place themselves so they can be appreciated by the main thoroughfare that approach them head on. Stylistically, then, this building is very different from the other glass curtain wall headquarters as seen in KPF's portfolio. And I wonder if looking back at this building isn't a bit embarrassing to KPF, almost as if I had found a picture of the founding partners wearing mullets, padded-shouldered Armani jackets, and chartreuse t-shirts. KPF was formed by founding partners A. Eugene Kohn, William Pedersen, and Sheldon Fox in 1976. I once read that when lobbying for work in their early days, their portfolio was so slim they featured pictures of their company's softball games. But through commissions with the ABC network, they quickly established themselves as a leading corporate design firm. Today, their buildings are all around the world, and we feature two of their towers in Architecture Codex No. 4 and No. 26. The Procter & Gamble headquarters in Cincinnati remains unique among the KPF buildings. It harkens back to the early 20th century skyscrapers, when architects felt compelled to imitate history as a means to bring an aesthetic order to their tall buildings. Why the impetus for this project to go postmodern? Were there a couple of lower-level architects in the firm who pushed for the postmodern design and then were pushed out of KPF after they decided postmodern was not their thing? Or was there an executive at Procter & Gamble familiar with this classically inspired style and pushed for something postmodern, even if it meant paying extra above what one might pay for a simple corporate glass box? I don't know. If you do, feel free to put it in the comments section, but keep it polite. Procter & Gamble manufactures all sorts of personal consumer products, from shampoo to razors to soaps to detergents to cosmetics. Public perception and friendliness is a part of their brand, at the core of their business model. So it's not a surprise that they may be interested in a style of architecture that was more populist, more traditional, a style time-tested as appealing. The symmetrical towers break the building down into human scale by featuring each window set in stone rather than lost in a wall of glass. They are treated differently at the base, on the building shaft, and the building capital. In total, then, the composition of the building is modified as it ascends by varying the fenestration. Fenestration is a word meaning windows, which we architects use to obfuscate rather than elucidate, as this kind of locution justifies our solicitation for additional compensation. At the corners of each segmented dome is a disc, which seems to be pure decoration, not unlike the medallions embedded in classical facades. These accents are repeated at the base with diamond-shaped windows. There is a sense of decoration about the composition of the facades and the entry interiors that seem quaint when compared with KPF's current work. The building won an AIA National Honor Award, which may be why KPF seems reluctant to erase it from its firm's history. But it gets only one photo on their website, while other headquarter designs get many.
Did I do that?
Are they embarrassed by the Proctor Gamble building? Do they consider it the trashy six-fingered tattoo cousin they'd rather not talk about? Or is that kind of building okay for those flyover states, but not the kind of thing you would place in a world city corporate capital where most of their work occurs today? I cannot say definitively, but that is my suspicion. Or it's possible that 1986 is just too far in the past for any of the current architects or staff to care about. The architect critic in me appreciates a design firm that has core design principles but not a branded style, and admittedly that could be a delicate balance. If KPF has core principles, then they are not easily apparent by looking at the buildings. There are a variety of buildings, although Procter & Gamble seems to be very different from most of their buildings. Perhaps then their core concept is simply design a simple, reasonable building that meets the program and execute it well. If so, that's an admirable set of core principles. The architect professional in me is much more forgiving to deviations from design purity. Any given project can be great, but there are so many opportunities for it to go wrong. The funding could be lost. Zoning could dictate design more than the architect. The program and the budget may limit what could be done on a practical basis. The owner, the patron, may have some specific tastes that drive a design to a specific direction. There's a whole lot of luck needed to allow an architect to create a great building, and no architect can do it without a great client. I often tell my clients I am not a famous enough architect to tell them how to live, so I ask them what their preferences are and try to break them into the concepts and the goals and the objectives and turn it into a comprehensive architectural statement. And some projects have more client input than others. But I have to admit, my better projects are usually when the client gives me their objectives and just lets me be the architect. So maybe the postmodern design was a specific request that came from the Procter & Gamble corporate officers. Or maybe someone at KPF wanted to try using history just this once. Regardless, I think the building works well. Look, if my favorite 1980s music can make a comeback to my kids' generation because of TV shows like Stranger Things or the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, then I think there is hope for newfound appreciation for KPF's Procter & Gamble headquarters in Cincinnati. I'm Michael Molinelli, and this is Architecture CodeX.